This is a very upsetting case that happened in the Bronx, New York on May 26, 2023. A call was placed to 911 around 4 a.m. of an unresponsive child on East 730, 165th Street of the Forest Houses. It was a familiar address. There had been several calls of domestic violence in that address before. When paramedics and police officers entered the apartment a little bit after 4 a.m., they also found an 8-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl there, siblings. Each had signs of cuts and rashes. Living in this filthy apartment, dirty clothes and linen, spoiled and rotten food, inside and outside of the refrigerator, insects infested the apartment. The apartment smelled of urine and feces. The children had bruising and ligature marks indicating that they had been restrained at some point. Gashes, healed and unhealed, on their bodies. The 3-year-old had a horrible rash on the lower half of her body, from her thighs to her buttocks, and this was all witnessed by a detective, Frankie Hernandez of the NYPD. The boy, Jalayah Eason Branch, would tell police that he had been hit before. In October, the boy's school reported that he had came to school bruised with a swollen face. He would tell the teacher that his mother had punched and kicked him for drinking out of the sink. If that wasn't disturbing enough, he often wore the same dirty clothes for days at a time and smelled of urine. He would be picked up an hour after school was over, and he was often absent. By the time authorities and social workers arrived, the boy's bruising had went away. I wonder how long did it take for them to get there. They say that they are overwhelmed with cases, and I can imagine. Eason would say her son was diagnosed during the pandemic with bipolar disorder. However, that still didn't explain why he was dirty and smelly and absent from school most of the time. Jalayah was there then, and she was 5 years old, and she was not enrolled in school there. The son would tell case workers, though his mother punched and kicked him, that he felt safe being there, and that's where he remained. Administration for the Children's Services, ACS, would monitor the situation until the case was ultimately closed with neglect unfounded. But what was happening now on May 26? Neighbors claimed they heard a young child screaming for her dear life. One neighbor said, quote, "She kept saying, 'Stop, stop, stop. You can hear the thumps, bro,' end quote." Another neighbor, Dennis Rivera, said around 3:45 a.m. he had told the New York Post that she was screaming for her dear life, screaming like hell. 6-year-old Jalayah was found bruised and not breathing. She was cold, and she was inside of a closet. She had bruises on her wrist and torso and scalp. She was also taken to the hospital where she would pass away, succumbing to her injuries. Her mother at the time was only arrested on child welfare of the remaining children. Now remember, she had another 3-year-old girl that lived there too by the name of Jalayah Eason Harris, but not the death of Jalayah. And she was released with an electronic monitoring device, which has enraged a lot of people wondering why she was released. I can only think they're trying to gather up enough substantial evidence to keep this 26-year-old woman in jail for good. Authorities are determining if this was a homicide. There was a court case on June 2nd, just days ago, and I couldn't find any information about the court case. I read a few articles. If there was a father in Jalayah's life, I'm not sure, but she did. Jalayah Eason, the mother, she did say that she was the only person at the time living in the apartment. So this is a very tragic story. As I look through the comments, like I do if you're familiar with my videos, I did come across a video that somebody had taken of a man who obviously lives in that apartment, or heard, or should I say lives in that apartment building, or had heard things that were going on in that apartment building. He seemed very emotional and devastated by what he just heard. I don't know if he was the man that they were talking about, Denny Rivera. I'm not sure, but I do have a clip of that I will play in this video. And we are hoping for justice for Jalayah Eason, only 6 years old, and she's gone now.
Kidding her, man.
That's crazy.
Shit happened this morning.
So they beat the little girl to death?
Yeah.
What?
Screaming, she was begging for her life, man.
That is
She
crazy.
got me sick right now, man.
Wow.
I woke my son up and I said, yo, let's call. He said, nah, don't get in. No, she's dead.
That's crazy. Oh my God.
Family.
Hey girl.
Hi.
It's your birthday?
Uh-huh.
Why you look weird? Hey birthday girl.
Hi.
Give me a peace sign.